everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a pizza dough. Now we are going to be doing this for 2 days. Day 1 we do the pizza dough, and then day 2 we're actually going to be forming our pizzas. Okay, so let's get started with the ingredients. You are going to be needing 3 1/4 of a cup of flour, and that can be either all-purpose flour or bread flour. We're going to be needing 1 cup of water, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and 2.5 teaspoons of salt. And to make our yeast, you're going to be needing an additional 1/4 of a cup of warm water, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. Most of us fear working with yeast, which is why we really don't even do bread. But I'm going to teach you how to work with yeast. It is actually really easy. You just have to follow these 3 steps, okay? Okay. So yeast. So yeast is actually a unicellular bacteria, and it's dormant. So what you see here, sometimes they also sell them in little packages, but I buy it by bulk. But think about it as being asleep, and you need to activate it. So there are 3 ways of activating. 1 is by feeding it, which is your 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. 2 is by heat, warmth, which is why we heated our water. And your water needs to be between 105 to 110 degrees, because if it's too hot, then you actually kill the yeast. So you want to keep it warm, not hot. If it's steaming, then it's already too hot. And then last is moisture, and the moisture is the actual water. Okay, so we are activating your yeast. So like I mentioned, we're going to need warm water, which is right here, and it's already been heated. Then we're going to add some sugar, and I like to stir the sugar so that it's incorporated. And then last, we are going to sprinkle our yeast. So right here, you're going to let this rest for about 10 minutes. And as it rests, you're going to notice that it starts bubbling, and it should look a little like this. So this is the difference of how it looks when it's activated. And you can actually already start seeing that this is starting to activate it. And the reason why you want to activate your yeast is so that you could be 100% sure that your yeast is still alive, because this is what's going to make your dough rise. If you kill the yeast, or if the yeast was already dead to begin with because it's been on your shelf for a long time, your dough wouldn't rise. So that's why we're doing these steps, because we're activating it. That way we make sure that we get a really nice pizza dough. Okay, so right here, letting it rest. Okay, so now it's the easy part. All we're going to do is mix everything in our KitchenAid using the dough hook attachment. So we add that, and I've already added my flour. I just took away 1/2 cup, which I put right here, just because you don't want to use too much flour. It really depends on the moisture of the day or what type of flour you're using. So I always start with a little bit less than the recipe calls for, and I'll just add it only if it needs it, okay? So I have my flour. I'm gonna go ahead and add my yeast mixture. I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of my water. I'm gonna add the salt, and I'm gonna add the oil. And all we're going to do is let the KitchenAid do everything for us. I will be pulling it out at the end, just so that I can finish kneading it by hand. If you don't have a KitchenAid, don't worry, you can do it all by hand. Just keep in mind that you will be kneading the dough for a little bit longer. And you're right here. So this is your dough being incorporated. Okay, and you can see that this is almost ready, just because it starts pulling apart from the sides. It's no longer around the edge. It's all been incorporated into a bowl. Almost done. I can tell that it's almost done. Remember, you want it to be a little tacky, and it's always better for you to keep on adding flour if it needs to, as opposed to if you put too much flour, then it's really hard to fix it. But it's an easy fix if you're just adding a little more that you could use. Okay, so I put my leftover flour aside, and if I need to, I will use it. So I'm gonna keep it in here until I do pizza. So here I'm gonna continue kneading it. And as you're kneading it, you're actually working the dough. So you are developing nice gluten strands when you're doing this. And that's what I'm gonna continue doing. Okay, so once it looks soft like this is exactly what you're looking for. You're going to let it rest because you were really working the dough, you were working those gluten strands, so now you need to let them relax. And that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to add my dough into this bowl, and I'm going to use a little bit more olive oil. 2 teaspoons of olive oil. Just because if you don't add any oil, it might get stuck to the sides, and then it might also form a crust on the top because you are going to be letting it rest. So I'm gonna let it rest, and then you're going to see how it looks. The dough has been resting for about 2 hours. And if you can look at this, see how it's doubled in size? And this is called the proofing process. So if you notice, there should be some nice bubbles. See that? And that's because of the yeast right there. So all we're going to do is do another quick kneading. There we go. And see how much softer that looks? And that's because we've already let the gluten relax. Remember I said that when we were first kneading it, we were developing the gluten. And now since it's nice and relaxed, see how it's nice and soft. I suggest that you don't use flour just because you don't want to dry out your dough too much unless it needs it. So if you touch it and it sticks to your fingers, then go ahead and add the flour. But if it's just tacky, a little bit like this, soft, but it doesn't stick to your hand, then you know that it's ready. Now, the only thing I'm gonna do next is I'll wrap it in saran wrap, and I'm going to leave it in here and refrigerate it, and that's it. I'll see you tomorrow to make the actual pizza.